I asked.
Did you tell him? Shush. All right, we are live.
Yeah.
We're live? You guys ready to go?
Ready to go.
I have my paint pour behind me.
Does that mean we're not ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. Here we go. It is September 7, 2018. I'm Rene Ritchie, and right now we're going to talk about everything coming up at Apple's yearly September event, because this is the iMore show. Micah Sargent is on special assignment, but our foundation, Lori Gill, is still here. How you doing, Lori Gill?
Very good, thank you, Renee. It's nice to have you manning the helm this time around.
I was forced to. Micah just like, I'm out of here. I had to do the intro. Also joining us, the wind beneath our wings, the laughter in our hearts, and definitely in our ears, Georgia Dow. How are you, Georgia?
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
So can we have some real talk? Some
real
like
talk.
Just between us.
Ooh.
Just the three of us.
iPhone XS, but it looks like XS or Axis or Exes. I don't know. Like,
yes, for every
atypical for Apple. We had the 3GS, the 4S, the 5S, the 6S. Did not have the 7S. But now it looks like we might be getting a Roman numeral.
I like to say it as the iPhone XS.
Yes, an XS.
Oh no, that's copyright.
Well, if you just put a big N XS, you're probably okay.
And to make matters worse, the rumor is that they're getting rid of Plus, because in the old days, Plus meant more than just size. It had a bigger screen, but it also had a better camera, and it had a few other features that made it sort of unique, like literally a better model. But this year's model sounds like it's only going to be larger. The camera will be the same. All the features will be the same. It'll just have a bigger screen. And so instead of iPhone XS Plus, it'll be iPhone XS Max. Like the Max, like Sam Keith's the Max.
So, well, actually, if you reference Sam Keith the Max, then you've won me, because that's super awesome. But
I knew I would have you with that, but I still, the sound of it is still very much Android circa 2010.
Yeah. They're making these naming decisions based on marketing research, I'm sure. So for me to go around saying that's a stupid name, that's, I don't make all that money to decide the name of iPhone. So I don't get to say what I think. But what I think, I don't think I like it. And no. I'm fine with Apple jumping into Roman numerals. And I even kind of embrace the idea that maybe it's always going to be the iPhone 10 and then like a points the way the Mac is, which I think is great. So if they're going to call it iPhone 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, and they can even do their large version and call it, 10.2X, or no more X's. I don't know.
XX.
Something else.
Because then we get to triple X, and then it's a very dangerous iPhone naming.
Then it's all
get a lot of hits. I think they'd get a lot of hits. Yeah.
But they're starting at S. So if it's 10S this year, is it 10T next year? Or are we doing it like Canon Rebel models?
Presumably they're going to jump away from the 10 model next year if that's how they're marketing it this year. They can't do any more 10 somethings based on the Roman numeral. I think personally it should be. I mean, they should have changed it. This year it should have been 10.1, and then 10.1.5 would be the plus or something like that.
You would want them to go up in Roman numerals after that.
I think it would have been more fun, and it would be more in line with the way they do the Mac software, and it would make sense for them to go that route. But because they didn't, now they're stuck. 10S,
iPhone
10S.
XI, XII, XIII, XIV, XV, XVI. See, like, so I'm with Lori. I understand, like, these are... Apple's got a great brand. They've got great marketing people all the way up to the top. They spend an awful lot of money researching this stuff. They make vast lists. They go through them. But that doesn't mean that they can't sometimes get it wrong. Like sometimes be, too much inside that box and not outside. Like Steve Jobs famously wanted to call the iMac the Mac Man, and he got talked out of it.
Thank God.
iPhone 3GS was a lot of things to say. People thought iPad sounded horrible.
It does sound horrible.
And
we remember our pad. We had actually gotten a giant maxi pad, a feminine napkin which they had in 2 versions. The clean,
they made a case for it, yeah,
and they made a case for it off of that. It's still a name, but you kind of get like we adapt really quickly. But even when you talk about like the new iPad and then the new iPad's the old iPad, and then like they do go through somewhere they had to kind of walk back and go, because when the new iPad is the old iPad and you're asking for the new iPad and you get an old iPad. Anyways.
So Georgia, you're saying you hated the name of the iPad when it first came out.
I did.
I hated the name of the AirPods when they first came out. I'm used to them now. It's a stupid name, but I'm used to it. Renee,
I like how blunt you are. I'm with you.
Renee, did they name any particular product that you were just rolling your eyes at? That now it's part of your vernacular, so you don't even think much about its name anymore.
I mean, yeah, there's so many of them. Like the whole eye thing. Like I'm glad Apple's working its way out of the eye hole. Because everything was an I for a while: iPhone, iPad, iMac, and all the software. And now it's Apple, which is better and worse because now we have Apple Wallet, Google Wallet, Microsoft Wallet. It's everything company name / exact same name for everything. And I don't know. I know this stuff is hard. Air Power. Is that? I don't know if that's a Rob Layfield superhero.
Change the name of the site to Applemore.
Applemore, maybe, but we're more than just Apple now. See, we did a reverse switcheroo.
We need to change the name to more than just Apple.
To asterisk
more.
Yeah. Well, does it matter? Like some people think it doesn't matter, that Apple should just call it iPhone and get rid of everything superfluous, and then you just have like whatever that latest version of the iPhone is. But I remember when the new iPad came out, and I was trying to find a case for it, and I Googled new iPad case, and it was impossible. And because the iPad 3 which is what I was calling it, was slightly bigger than the iPad 2, it wouldn't just fit in iPad 2 cases. And so there is real utility, real consumer utility. If I'm trying to talk to a human being and I can say exactly what product I'm referring to, that's utility. Like having to say MacBook Pro late 2012, that's not human. An iPhone 10 as an X is not human legible. You show that to most people, they're going to go X. And that's fair.
Most people call it that. If you're not an Apple blogger, most people call it iPhone 10. I always get a little twitch in my eye whenever I hear somebody call it iPhone
Apple has Xserve and Xcode. I mean, they don't have Xserve anymore, but they still have Xcode. So, I mean, like, it's just, I don't know why we want to increase consumer confusion. We should have more empathy for people than that.
So what happened to the iPhone 9? That's what I want to know.
Nobody used it because in Germany, they think it just means no.
7, 8, sorry.
iPhone 9.
I won't do it.
So come on, just say it.
7, 8, 9. Georgia, is that what you're going to say?
That's what happens. 7, 8, 9. There we go. I did it. I'm sorry.
But there's no Windows 9.
I was encouraged and I just jumped right in.
Thank you. You did it. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for making that terrible joke.
And it doesn't sound like there's going to be an iPhone 9 either. It sounds like they're going to name that something else. VentureBeat was saying iPhone 10R or something, which doesn't make much sense.
Some people say
reason
for it,
10C. For
what?
Do
you think of them just skipping 9?
Color.
I don't think they're
skipping 9.
Yeah, I think just they want to go with iPhone 10 as the brand, and they'll have a 10. They'll have a 10S, a 10S Max, and a 10C or something.
Yeah, but that's fine this year, right?
Yeah.
But where I get confused is next year. So are they going to just take it to 11, which I hope they do very much, or are they going to jump back to 9, or are they going to keep using the 10 nomenclature? And if that's
add extra letters to it,
I don't know who it was. It might have been somebody suggested that they just use like there's the A10 Bionic chip or something. They just call it the iPhone Bionic. But I mean, it
becomes really hard to remember. Like I think that Lori's point to for people that are in the like Appleverse or are techies, that's fine. They'll remember it. They'll know it. It will kind of stick. But for most people, like besides a date, they just want to go up in their sequential in their knowledge base. So they're not going to remember which names are what to
like
where, and that becomes a real difficulty.
Droid. We don't remember.
Yeah, exactly. And if you need to get something for something, it's easier. Like what they had to do with the iPads. It's just kind of easier if you just go up in numbers or go by date. They don't bother
anymore. Like the new iPhone 12.9-inch Pro was just the new iPad Pro. They put no year or number or anything behind it.
But then it becomes easier, to buy stuff, to exchange it, to figure out, to make sure you're getting the right stuff. I don't know if
Well, it was
that's
identical.
Certain types of technology that I think it is okay to have like an sort of like a vague name. Computers, I think, fit into that category. We tend to want to know which model, we as like tech bloggers and when we're telling people what to buy, but as just an average consumer who's not all in on technology, I go to the store, I want the latest computer. So the model number isn't as important, but with phones, and I think with tablets as well, it is important to know the difference between them, because that is, just like you said, Renee, when you start going to buy accessories for those products, you want to make sure that you're getting the right accessory for them. So if it's your device that sits at home, you're not as concerned with whether or not, you know, you're getting the right accessories, because it's very rare that you need something that is specific to one type of computer other than a case for your laptop, which again, you can also just get sleeves that are like 13-inch sleeve or 15-inch sleeve, and that's a lot easier. But definitely cases and other peripherals for your tablets and your phones, they really do need a special name so that you can tell the difference between the two when you're talking about what you want to get for it.
And the other thing is, like, there was a Motorola Droid Bionic. I mean, like, I kind of hate that we're repeating these patterns from the past. Apple was so clean for so long. It was just 4, 4S, 5, 5S, 6, 6S. And I think, yeah, that would have run out eventually, like 12S, 37S, you know, maybe. But right now, if it really is the iPhone 10s Max, you've got an X and a 10, looks like an X in the same word.
Yeah.
It's insufferable. I can't handle this, Lori Gill.
It's just too much. It's too much. It's too much.
All right. At least Apple Watch is going to be Apple Watch Series 4. I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, Apple Watch hasn't been around long enough to get any weird names. So, you know, once we've had 9 versions of Apple Watch, maybe we'll start getting, you know, we'll jump from Apple Watch 8 to Apple Watch 10.
They're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I can't.
Oh, and then then there's the special edition thing, which really throws me for a loop. And I just want to make a comment on that. The iPhone SE means special edition, but the iPhone SE is certainly not a special edition. It's the bottom of the barrel edition.
It's a special edition of the iPhone 5S.
Yeah, but that's old school. That's old news. That's years and years ago. The SE doesn't seem to be like the right nomenclature for that particular phone, you know?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting for me watching, now that you brought it up, but watching Twitter this week, a lot of people really want an iPhone SE 2, Lori Gill included.
Yeah.
Apple is making, instead of an iPhone SE 2, at least for now, they're making a 6.1-inch iPhone. So the iPhone S2 had 2 separate characteristics. One was that it was a less expensive iPhone, and one was that it was a small iPhone with modern specs. And Apple thought it would sell because it was less expensive, but apparently they were surprised, you know, in their demand forecasting by how much it sold just because people wanted a smaller iPhone, at least in North America. Now, though, there's this huge pressure in Asia for less expensive big iPhones, because in Asia, that's a primary computer. A lot of countries, a lot of developing markets, they never had wired infrastructure. And a lot of them just didn't have personal computers. They went straight to mobile devices and straight to 3G and now LTE. So for them, and which is why like the Samsung phones, like they have brands, they're like the Samsung Galaxy Mega, which is like big because people only have one device. Maybe they have a cheap tablet to watch videos on, maybe not, but they have one device and it has to be their everything. And they want it to be as big as possible. And people say things like, oh, it's not friendly for women, but you know, that's fine. That's culturist instead of sexist. So, I mean, like, just because you're a woman doesn't mean you don't want the biggest computing device you can have. You can only have one computing device, and you can put it in a bag or in a backpack because you're busy working. You're not busy being judged by really privileged people who live on a different continent.
Yeah, there's definitely like 2 voices in that. Like on the one hand, I do understand the argument that a larger iPhone doesn't take into consideration, and it has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with your size. And yeah, there's the small pocket issue, but women also carry purses. So, you know, there's a lot of pocket. Yeah, I would argue that the reason that people love the smaller iPhone size, like a 4-inch form factor, it doesn't have to do with how big our hands are or how thick our pockets are. It has to do with like the joy of having something just small that we can carry around. And just like you're saying, Renee, that there are a lot of people who either only use a phone as their computing device, or that they just prefer. My mom doesn't even own a computer. She uses her phone for everything. So the iPhone 8 Plus is her favorite phone because it's huge. It has a great big screen that she can look on.
My mom is so similar. She always wanted a plus size iPhone, but she keeps her phone in her purse, and she was worried she would miss calls and messages. But then she got the Apple Watch, so the Apple Watch alerts her to calls and messages that she then goes to her. I think she has an iPhone 7 Plus right now, and she goes, and because when she's at her appointments, when she's waiting for friends, she's reading ebooks. That's her primary use case, is reading magazines and books, and she wants the biggest phone she can do with that on because she doesn't want to carry her iPad with her.
Yep. That's exactly the way my mom is. And that's a lot of people. They can use their Apple Watch to give them their notifications while their phone is actually sitting somewhere, in short distance away that they just can pull out and grab when they want it. And yeah, but I am still going to stand by, I want a small phone. And I know that we small phone lovers are a minority, and I understand why Apple isn't going to cater to us, but we're out there and we want it. So please, Apple, someday give me the specs of the iPhone 10 and put it in a phone that's no bigger than the 4-inch form factor.
See, although I would say put it in the iPhone SE size, but with an iPhone 4.7-inch screen.
Yeah,
as long as bezel on that.
Yeah, like as long as it's the same, sort of size of the iPhone SE, you can even make it all round and pretty the way the iPhone 10 is, and even, slim but tall, but not as tall.
Because then you'd have like the size of the screen that was in the iPhone 8, but you'd have it in the iPhone SE body.
Yes.
I do totally get that. I get I get the small, now that because I went from the Plus and then I have, it's like the 10, it's I do understand, but even with that, I still have a little
hand. You want a bigger phone, though. You're on record as wanting a Max.
I do. I don't like the word Max. Can't we just call it Plus? Does it Plus have to?
Extreme. iPhone 10 Extreme.
Fair. I'm still gonna call it the Plus. How upset will people be if I do that? Would people be really upset? Renee's like, don't do it. I can see his look. You're judging me already.
No, you can get Plussy with it. I don't mind.
The day that Georgia gets that tweet where somebody went into the Apple store and requested
that is
the
true.
iPhone 10
the iPhone X Plus, the iPhone X Plus.
And they'll be all embarrassed. Yes, we did get that when we used to call the iPad the baby iPad.
The Baby Pro.
Baby Pro. Yeah, we did get a really angry email from someone who went in thinking that was the name, and then they felt really embarrassed because it's not actually the name. It was just our cute name for it. Mm-hmm. Fair. I won't do it for that reason. I don't want anyone else to follow my lead on this and then have people judge
The person came in asking for an iPhone X Plus, and I didn't know what that was, and we fell down, and I was glad they did.
I think there's going to be a whole bunch of people already going in because we're used to it. Plus to me just means bigger.
We can have a whole show on what it's like for just regular people going into it. I stand at the Apple store sometimes and I just listen, and people are like, "Let's go into the iPad store," and then someone's like, "I'd like $20 worth of iCloud for my boyfriend's Samsung phone, please." Well, where are the BlackBerry cases? Like, it's amazing the kind of questions they get asked.
Yeah. I fully understand that because people don't understand that like an Apple store is proprietary. They just see a whole bunch of cool technology. And now that the phones look so similar, it seems like they even have the notch. Really? We've unibrowed all the phones.
The notch
now.
was contagious, Georgia.
Yes, exactly.
It was
now
virulent.
they're all, it's not actually called a unibrow, it's called a notch. But they all look the same. I can understand how people would be confused and go in. I think about, some of my family members going in, and they have really, like, they don't know really how to even use their phone, and it's getting more difficult and more complex to that. And they're like, I can't even just bring me down to a lower phone level.
One of my favorite things is former Apple employees trying to figure out how to order a phone, like for a normal person for the first time, because the company just kept giving them phones, and they'd have those phones earlier than anybody else. And they're like, "What do you mean I got to call AT&T? I can't have it the first day." What? I don't understand. There's a waiting list, but I want the large one. It's the best.
Yeah.
I love it.
But I only have that in gold, really?
What?
Yeah.
Where's the rose gold? I know there's a rose gold. I built it.
Do you remember standing in line at midnight, or actually usually it would be 8 o'clock at night because the phones would go on sale at midnight.
How many times how many times have you done that, Lori?
I did it quite a few times.
Did
And
you?
you know, even after I started being able to order my devices online, I would just go there anyway, just because I enjoyed the camaraderie of being around other people who were just as excited about it as
Yes,
I
the
was.
fervor for other people that are like fanatically in love with their tech. We've done it 4 times, Renee. How many
Yeah,
times?
I did it every time until I
You've done it
started.
every
I
time.
still do it, but I go to the
I,
launches in New York now.
yeah,
Right,
now
but like
I'm.
the lunches are different. That's like a
It's an
party,
event.
you know.
It's
That's
true.
yeah, like
Event.
when
Oh, but
you're
our launches here were events. Like I would go
They
to them.
were.
Ours
They
only
were.
opened at 8 a.m. Like you couldn't get it
Yeah.
early at 8 a.m. So we would line up at 8 p.m. and there'd be people there with like running Xboxes off their car with like lounge
yes.
chairs.
Chairs
It
and
was a tailgate party for
heaters.
iPhones. It was
People
so
would
great.
come by with like donuts and people would order pizza to the
We'd give
line.
out T-shirts.
We'd give out
Yes.
t-shirts and like interview some people that were there and just kind of hang out. And then they'd open the doors and we would run. We tried, and the worst part is we tried to make like, like we're going to do this really evenly and we're going to make a list of who's first. So this is the first person, this is the second, this is the third. And then it was just this mad dash. And then the security said, I'm sorry, we cannot enforce your list of people that are already. So the poor people that were first, because they were slower runners, it was chaos. Chaos.
Yeah, and even though you want the fairness, I really do miss that. I'm just gonna say
The
right
run.
now, like I miss staying up all night long with a bunch of other people that love iPhones and other Apple products, because like it's just like that's where you just like meet the people who care as much as you do. When you're surrounded by friends and family who think you're an idiot for how much you love Apple products, and you go to this place where
Yes.
everybody else feels the same way, it's like super great to like just be in that environment and getting
Yeah.
excited about that stuff.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Let's go back to that. No more online shopping, everybody. Let's go to our nearest Apple store in the middle of the night and just stand there and wait. And even if they're not going to open until 8 o'clock in the morning, let's do it anyway.
All right. So more news. Again, rumors intensifying about new AirPods, which I'm all in on. I love AirPods. Anyone who's
They
like
are good.
AirPods to me are proof positive that anyone who says that Apple can't innovate since Steve Jobs does not know what they're talking about, because those things are fabulous. And the rumor is they'll have a better radio. They'll be able to do Yo Siri built in. You won't have to have anything else for them. And they'll be some form of water or sweat resistant, which is one of the big drawbacks.
When you say Yo Siri built in, do you mean that it will have Siri in the bud itself? So even if your phone is nowhere nearby,
no, so it'll be able to recognize the verbal command to turn on the Connect. Because right now, I believe it's your phone that activates it. And if your phone doesn't hear you, it like the AirPods won't activate. But let's say you're still within Bluetooth range, but you're like, I'm not sure what the utility is of this. I think this is part of a bigger plan. And everything. Or maybe it's just that they're so close to your mouth that having them recognize Siri is less error prone than having to have it transmit to your phone, recognize, and come back. I'm not sure yet. But anything that makes Siri work better.
I can't.
Yeah. So Renee, stop talking for just a moment, because we lost your audio completely just now. I know, it's very sad. In the meantime, I'll just say some things about AirPods. AirPods, I think they really are fantastic, and I do love to use them. I use them a lot. Like right now, I'm not using them, but it's really just for the sake of being wired to my computer, so that things like what happened to Renee don't happen, where things cut out. And that's just a technological thing. It has nothing to do with the AirPods at all. I think it's actually, if it ever does cut out, it's more based on the software of the program that we're using. Yeah, we hear you now, Renee.
We can hear you, Renee.
But the one problem that I do have with AirPods, and I'm constantly hoping that they will change it, and it doesn't seem like they ever do, which is the pain that I get from it. And AirPods are way, way, way more comfortable than earbuds, but they still hurt me. I still can only keep those things in my ear for about a half an hour. And then I just have to take them out, because I'm just feeling the pain inside my inner ear canal. Even though I'm not pushing them in, it's a much more comfortable situation. It still hurts. I don't know if there's a way they can do that, but I would love for even just a soft cap that comes with them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If they could just taper it a little bit and then put one of the little tiny soft caps. I am the same way. I'm not too bad with with the AirPods. It depends on how long I'm wearing them for. It is true I get earache from it. And it's it kind of like just gives me a little bit of a headache if I'm using them for way too long. And so I'm absolutely with you on that. And sometimes they do slip out. Like I maybe I have a strange shaped ear.
My left ear is fine. My right ear, it comes out.
Yeah. So I think that if they had something that was like this little silicone, like lots of earbuds have, I find that those fit very comfortably, and I can usually like put them into my ears for longer without having to feel that.
There are third-party sleeves for them, but then when you put them on, they don't fit in the charging case. You can take them off again, and then you lose them, and it's not elegant.
And they're also they make the bud itself a little bit larger. So for those of us who have those kind of smaller ear canals, like George and I, it does help because it anchors them into your ear, but they're also larger so that it comes back to the same thing, which is that it starts to hurt our ears after a while. So
yeah, they would actually have to go through a different design of the shape in order to do that.
Just like the old Apple in-ear headphones that had like different pieces on the top.
So can I say a really superficial and petty thing that I would like for them to change?
Scratch your Surface, Georgia, more Surface.
I know, but I am probably not the only one. I would love to have them in black or in a chrome color so that they are, I would take almost anything but white because they look grosser because they are easy, like they get dirty fast, which I guess you could say it's cleaner because you know that you're always cleaning them because you can tell. So maybe that's actually more hygienic, but it also doesn't match. And I know it just doesn't match with what I wear. And so that bothers me.
If you think about it, though, this is like I don't think Apple will ever give us a different color of anything that they put in their ears. Here's what.
Lori, you were killing me. That hurt. It hurt me to the core.
It wasn't that long ago.
What about space gray for $100 more?
So here's what. Here's what.
Polish.
A few years ago, they had this campaign where their commercials were just like. Yes. Like silhouettes of people dancing. And what did you see? Those big white.
It's true.
That is iconic Apple. They want you to be walking down the street and someone looks at you and says they're wearing Apple headphones in some form or another. If you change the color, then your headphones, whether they're AirPods or earbuds or what, they don't look like Apple anymore. Therefore, it doesn't give that sort of marketing edge that Apple has with those things. So I don't think they will ever change the color of it. If you want it changed, you have to go to a company or paint it with nail polish or something like that.
So they might call them AirPods XS Max, but they won't make them face gray.
XX Max, does that mean they're going to be bigger?
The other thing that people really wanted is waterproofing, water resistance. First, for using it out when it's raining, or snowing, but also because you get really sweaty. And although there haven't been too many reports of it, there are some people who, granted, we sweat a lot sometimes, who have had issues over time with them. So it'd be nice if they did up the water resistance for those.
I have one more thing is I wish that they had a little tiny sensor that could beep so that they could beep really loudly if I lose one.
They do. I mean, you can use Find My AirPods and it turns them up to max level. So you will locate them.
I need something more.
Well, then you just play the sound of a loud beep while you're looking for your.
That is true. That is true. That is true.
Well, I lost mine in the old iMore story. I lost mine when I was photographing them to show how to find them if you lost them.
Because it was in the snow, wasn't it, Renee?
Yeah, that was before
for Canada. It's scary.
I had to just blare the music and dig them out. And my hands were frozen for like a week. But now the sound is pretty good.
Now it's a lot easier to find them, and you can.
And that's the other rumor is that we'll also, quote unquote, finally get the inductive charging case with them and AirPower, which is charging that.
Before we move into AirPower, let's talk about that inductive charging case. This is already announced. It's already coming at some point.
It was announced last September.
Yeah, we just don't have an official date yet, but based on the rumors that you're hearing that there's potentially an AirPods 2, that means it's very likely that the inductive charging case will come along with it. My guess is, and we don't have any official information, but my guess is that you
feel like if they don't release and announce it now, they just can't anymore. It's like been a year since they introduced it, and at a certain point, it's just so awkward. You're like, if it was at a party, you'd be slowly moving yourself away from it.
Or like Apple just wouldn't come to that party because they know that everybody's going to ask about that thing that they said they would do and
We
never
never
did.
mentioned
They'd suddenly be
AirPods.
sick.
Yeah.
I broke up with them. They did not break up with me.
Yeah. But if they do,
Doesn't come in white.
if this does happen, I think it's probably going to be the new AirPods 2 they will include an inductive charger that'll just come with it. But you will also be able to buy the inductive charger separately for a probably way more than you want to pay for it fee, I'm guessing, right?
I think the whole thing, I think air power in general is going to be expensive, especially to people who are used to really cheap Qi chargers. And this is a perennial problem with Apple, is that they are seen as expensive, where what it really is they use expensive parts. And the technology to make air power work, because some people thought it's just 3 pads. It's not. It's an array that will charge 3 different devices intelligently. And that's a lot of engineering. And you could say, well, duh, just make a dumb pad that has 3 spots on it. But that's not how they want to roll. They want to like push these technologies forward. So it's going to be able to charge your Apple Watch Series 3 or 4, your AirPods Series 2, or with the inductive charging case, and your iPhone 8, 10, and 10s. You can put up to 2 phones on it, or you can put a phone, a watch, and an AirPods on it. And yeah, I think it's going to be expensive.
And then
how many do you plan on getting, Renee?
I mean, 2 maybe. 1 for the living room, 1 for the bedroom.
I'm thinking for me, just one. There's only one time in my life where I would take my watch off and need to charge it, which is by my bed. So it would probably be that's where that all-encompassing charger would go in that room.
But you
and
could put 2 phones in the living room instead of a watch.
See, that's the thing, is that
I don't use 2 phones.
But it would be nice if while you put down your phone, like, while you're in the living room, it was charging.
Yeah.
No? You don't.
Like Derek Kessler. Did anybody see Derek Kessler on Twitter? He's building a charging table with embedded Qi in it.
That I want the whole table so that I just have to set it anywhere. Yes.
That would be a great thing for them to just sell tables that just charge everything.
I just want Starbucks and everything to have that. Just go into any restaurant. So, but the thing that people are worried about with AirPower 2 is that it's a flat pad. And that means if you have a loop on your watch, it's not going to be compatible, or it's going to be really awkward, because like with a band, you can just open it and put it flat down. But if you have a loop, there's something over the back. You have to pull one half of the loop off. Or George is turning her loop inside out.
Flip it. You just have to kind of like do this, right? So what I'm doing, if you open it up all the way, you really just have to turn it. Even if you have a metal set, you can kind of just
I don't think a link bracelet would work though.
The link one would work. What's the really pretty metal one that would work? The one that's the chain one would work. The Milanese would work. The ones that are the hard metal steel case one might not. I don't know, but I would think that one you could just do flat. No, couldn't you just do it flat?
No, you'd have to pop it open, and then.
No, but like,
it's not very. It's metal. It's not very flexible.
Really, really hard. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be flexible enough. But I would assume that the Milanese would be able to be charged. So
maybe that's why they still haven't put it out yet, is they want to make sure that it will work with your Apple Watch no matter what band you use, and that
you have to roll the charging pad into a loop. And then
no, see, this is Apple. Every product has to be amazing except for one terribly frustrating element that just drives you nuts, even as you use everything else so happily.
Yeah, and then that's the one thing that everybody complains about, is that one function that's not perfect.
No. Yeah, you can run to the future, but you're going to take a couple of steps along the way.
So when we're talking about the Apple Watch and the charging, the Apple Watch Series 3 and most likely the Apple Watch Series 4, it has special inductive charging. You can't just use any old Qi charger to charge that Apple Watch, correct?
So we've actually tested this. You need to have a magnetic element as well. You can take a Qi charger, add a magnet to it, and it'll kind of charge. I wouldn't recommend ever screwing around with charging anything though. Batteries are dangerous, so don't mess around with that. But yeah, a regular Qi charger won't work. It has to be a magnetic Qi charger.
So then, do you think it's possible that Apple might be working on the Series 4 as being just standard Qi charging instead of needing that? Do you think, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they originally added the magnet because they wanted it to be a super good connection. When you put the watch on that little charging puck, you really know it's on. And with the phone, you don't. That's been my why I've never been the biggest fan of wireless charging, because people say, oh, it just sits on the pad. But every time you turn around, your comforter knocks it, you knock it, it slides off or
It
something.
has a sweet spot, really.
Yeah. And there's not the powerful magnet that there is on the Apple Watch to hold it in place. I mean, if anything, I'd rather Qi adopt a little bit of the Apple Watch thing so that it holds itself in place better.
Plus, it's a kind of it feels good. It's like a reinforcement when it just sucks in and goes. You're like,
oh man, the AirPods.
I did it right. Oh, the
I
AirPods
made the mistake of giving the
soothing.
AirPods to one of George's kids, and they just sat there going tick 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 tick. And I was like, no, I want to be the one doing that.
It's soothing.
It is.
Yeah.
Soothing.
It does. It's true. There's a lot of design that goes into that. They didn't have to make them have that satisfying click every time they went into place. So with the Apple Watch or with the AirPods, and there's a very distinct like comfort level that you
just go every time. Click.
Yeah. It's all up in our heads, but it really does work. And there's some people behind the scenes that really were super ingenious to come up with, to make sure that it had that feel and that sensation for us.
Yeah.
Like,
plus, if you're upside down or training, if you're training or working out, it will still it stays in place, and it'll actually just get sucked in.
He's
no
saying
matter
that if
what.
you're not if you have low dexterity like me, you can still get it into the case.
You can, and it's very nicely, and it stays there. Like it's not just going to fall out or open when you don't want it to.
But I've dropped mine on occasion, and it still is like Tony Stark's armor from Iron Man 3, where like it looks perfect, then it hits and it breaks into pieces.
Too bad it's not like Iron Man where it all just comes back together again.
So I have one, because I know Georgia has to go, but I have one last question, one last thing that we can debate. And here it is, and it's a big one. So is this event going to be just iPhone and Apple Watch with the AirPower and AirPod stuff, and then a second event for iPad and Mac in October? Or do you think they're going to do one of those things where Tim Cook says, clear my skies, and we'll get Apple Watch and iPhone and iPad and AirPods and AirPower and Macs all at one event?
So my hope is that it will be two separate events, but that's just from the worker me perspective of I don't want to have to worry about covering all of those products all at once.
I know.
And I think I've said this before, that I think when you're offering us way too many products all at once, we can't afford everything. So our brains say, well, this year I can buy the iPhone and next year I can buy the Apple Watch or the iPad or the Mac. And even if they're an event that happen a month apart from each other, our brains go, well, I can get the Mac, the new MacBook Pro or MacBook Air or whatever, even though I already pre-ordered the iPhone XS. There is something psychological about separating those products that I think is easier on our mental wallets than just dumping it all on us at once.
Yeah, I mean, for the same reason you said, Lori, like just the idea of having to do everything at the event. We did that in 2016, where it was literally iPhone, iPad Pro for the first time, the new Apple TV, which hadn't been one for 3 years. And it was just literally one thing after another. I think it was ultimately 4 things we had to cover all at once. And it was not as much fun. Yes, you don't have to travel. Apple doesn't have to host 2 events. They can give more focus to specific products. Yeah, I don't know. I love both so deeply, and they could go either way. Georgia, do you care which way they go?
I think they'll have like one event to rule them all, one event to find them, one event to bring them all,
and in the darkness bind them.
Ashkenaz Batulak, Ashkenaz Batul, Ashkenaz Frakatulak. Okay, sorry.
It just makes it makes more sense. It's cost less, and I think it's just easier to have. People are now so jaded, they want all kinds of cool things, so it allows that there'll be something interesting that someone will grab hold of and be able to discuss, and then they'll have like a staggered way of when you buy everything and when everything comes out. But yeah, I agree. It's nice to have one thing that I'm excited about, and then I find some other stuff later. It's like not opening all your presents at once. So I would love to have 2 events, but I think that they'll do one. That's my thought on it.
Okay.
All right. I guess we're going to find out in less than
very soon.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Go in a couple days.
I know. We're going to have so much fun.
Max Excite. Max Excite. All right. Well, in the meantime, Lori Gill, if people want to find you, if they want to go to some social place or another, or read your wonderful words, where can they go?
Well, I am on APPAHOLIK. I'm at Lori Gill at most of the other social things, and I am at iMore writing about the iPhone event next week.
Woohoo! And Georgia, how about you?
I'm sometimes on Twitter. You can find me. It's at Georgia_Dow.
Like _ Tim Cook?
Yeah.
Or
And
no,
and anxiety videos. If you're dealing with anxiety or depression, check out anxiety-videos.com.
Man, you love your hyphens and dashes and underlines.
Yeah.
If Micah
Step
Sargent
proper
were
grammar.
here, he would tell you could find him at chihuahua.coffee. That has links to everything that he does. And man, does that dude do a lot of stuff. You can find me at Renee Ritchie. I have a new video out today. If you go to youtube.com/Vector Show, it is all about locking down your iPhone to the max. If you do not care about convenience, if you don't care how hard it is to get to your stuff, you just want to make sure nobody else can ever get to your stuff. If it has pictures, documents, texts, messages, things you just never want any other human being to either see or have to see, then I have the tips for you. Again, that's youtube.com/Vector Show. It's all up in there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Lori and Georgia, for joining me on this fun-filled show.
Yes, and next week we'll be talking all about the new things that we get to buy
New
and
things. Why we are all broke.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun if we go there and Tim Cook takes the stage and he goes, "This year, nothing. We're not your dancing monkeys. We don't jump through hoops for you. We want to say once and for all, enough. Stop
Angry.
demanding things."
Angry riots. That would not be good.
I feel like there might be some Apple nerds that would throw their sodas at Tim Cook if that happened.
God, I still remember, well, I think I heard the story because I wasn't there, but when they announced the iPhone, I forget if it was Scott Bourne or somebody, threw their Trio on the floor and started stamping on it. And then Steve Jobs said, "Coming this June." And they're like, "What?"
Oh.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh, we nerds are passionate. We're passionate but loving people. All right. Have a good one. Thank you, everyone, for watching. You guys are the best audience in the world.